Hello, I'm Anita McVeigh. You're watching BBC News and we are following the rapidly developing news coming out of the Middle East with the US-Israeli war with Iran. As the conflict widens, people are turning to the internet to search for the answers to many, many questions. And we've been looking at today's trending questions on Iran. So joining me now in the studio to answer some of those questions is our security correspondent, Frank Gardner. We're also hoping to be joined very shortly by our chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette. Frank, lots of questions, as I was saying, to get through. So let's try and make a start with this broad one. Why did the US and Israel attack Iran? Lots of people will be aware that there was a talks process ongoing. So wondering why it's happened now.
Well, it's hugely controversial because the legality of this war that they have started is questionable. There wasn't congressional approval for it. President Trump did not go to Congress. This was something that Israel and the United States had cooked up already in advance in case talks didn't go the way they wanted. Now, the talks in Geneva were making progress on the nuclear file. Oman was mediating those talks. Dr. Badr al-Busaidi, who is the Omani foreign minister, said, look, we've got a breakthrough. We can solve this on the nuclear side. But there were two other issues which Israel was pressing the United States to press the Iranians for, and the Iranians refused to discuss them. That was curbing Iran's ballistic missile program, and we've seen from all these missiles that are flying around the Gulf at the moment, they've got a lot of these ballistic missiles. That was one, and the other was Iran's support for its proxy militias around the region. So Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas in Gaza, and a number of militias in Iraq. Iran said, no, that's off the table. We're not going to discuss those. And that's why back on Thursday night, Donald Trump said, I'm not happy with the way these talks are going. Marco Rubio said something similar.
Yeah, and it was interesting, just to interject there, Frank, when we heard from Pete Hegseth, the US Defense Secretary, War Secretary, earlier, he was saying that Iran wasn't negotiating, they were stalling, to quote that statement from him earlier.
Yeah, even on the nuclear file, the Iranians are famous for giving just enough to kind of let themselves off the hook, and then it stalls again. And the 2015, what's called the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the previous nuclear deal, was really hard fought by, it was European countries sitting down with the Iranians, and they eventually got a deal which would have curbed Iran's nuclear program, but didn't address those other two issues I mentioned, the missiles. And that's why Donald Trump pulled the US out of it, saying it's the worst deal in the world, and he pulled out of it.
One of the questions we have, Frank, here is, will Iran attack the UK? Now, we have seen Iran launch missiles, launch drones at a number of countries, haven't we?
We have. So Iran has attacked 4 countries in particular, 5 actually, Israel, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, which includes Abu Dhabi and Dubai, where a lot of tourists are currently stranded, nearly 100,000. Will it attack the UK? There has been a drone attack on the RAF base in Akrotiri in the sovereign base area of Cyprus. I've spoken to officials in Whitehall this morning to say, are you on a kind of heightened alert for any kind of acts of subversion or sabotage or anything like that by a kind of Iranian fifth column? Because, and they've said, yes, their exact words were, there is a heightened tempo of threat from Iranian regime supporters in this country. And the last public statement we had from the head of MI5 was October, so 4 or 5 months ago, in which he said that in the previous 12 months there had been 20 cases of attempted kidnap and murder by agents working on behalf of the Iranian regime in the UK to go after opposition activists. So people have got their eyes open. I think Jewish community is probably a potential target for them. That's what I'm being told, synagogues, etc. So there's usually a kind of lag, a tail, a delay between events happening overseas and them having a knock-on effect over here, but they are aware of it.